scripture today is 2 Samuel chapter 8, verse 18. So David reigned over all Israel, and David administered justice and righteousness for all his people. The Good News Translation read it this way: David ruled over all Israel and made sure that his people were always treated fairly and justly. David, unlike Saul, was God's chosen king for Israel. Saul was the people's choice. And David, in his walk with the Lord, he was identified as the man after God's heart. Through David's life, we see God's mercy and David's love for God. And amongst all the relationships David had, it was the relationship that he had with God that he valued most. He fought for a relationship with God and maintained a clean slate before God. When it came time for him to be king, after Saul's death, David did not force himself to the throne. No, the people came to him and made him king. And in turn, we see David honoring the people by making sure that as long as he's king, he was going to treat people fairly and justly. He administers justice and righteousness for everyone. This means that no one ever left David's court as a victim. No one ever left David's presence without justice. No one ever left David's court feeling that he was treated unfairly. David was able to do this because his character was righteous. He was in right standing with God and naturally did what was right before God. Do you see that? Do you see why we are studying the character of the righteous? Because it is when we look at the life of those that the Bible tells us that they are righteous, we can emulate them. Today, you might be in a leadership position in your home or at your workplace. Can people say that you're treating them fairly? The Lord gave us this character of righteousness so that we will be different from the world, so that we could be a refuge to the world. When life beat them up, they must be able to run to us and they would be treated fairly. And of course, we will point them to Jesus. Treating people fairly means we acknowledge our elders and have compassion on the less fortunate. It means we protect our women and our children and stand up for them. David, as a king, made sure that the nation was protected from the enemy. He personally went out and fought for the peace of Israel, and the Lord made him victorious wherever he went. You know why? Because David's intention was to make sure that his people were safe at all times. What is the intention that you have about the people that the Lord has entrusted in your life? What is it that you are doing that to make sure that they are safe from the enemy? You have to make a decision to be known as a fair and just brother, a fair and just mother, a fair and just employer, a fair and just co-worker, a fair and just believer. You have to make sure that when people walk away from you, they know that Christ in you spoke. They know that Christ in you stood up for them. They know that Christ in you is treating them fairly, because it is not about you. We are reading about the life of David, but actually the life of David leads us to Christ. And that's why we have to treat others fairly and others justly. Make a commitment today to be like David, to administer justice and righteousness for everyone.